Show with our very special guest star, Mr. Steve Martin.
Steve Martin?
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the light. It's time to meet the Muppet on the Muppet Show tonight.
It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to get things started.
Lily, you'll know things better. It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational,
Celebrational, motivational.
This is what we call a Muppet Show.
Okay, so in case you didn't catch any of that, that was the old opening to the Muppet Show from the 70s. I think it went from 76 to 82 maybe. But I have the Santa hat on, which means this installment of 12 Flicks of Christmas is the Muppet Christmas Carol. By the way, I'm John Corelli, Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli. I'm screwing everything up, but that's okay. You can tell I'm tired. You know why? Because I went and visited my dad for an hour and a half, which will probably be my next episode. It only takes 90 minutes of Joe Corelli to wear me out. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the Muppet Christmas Carol, and it's probably the best movie so far we've seen. I really still like that Spanish one, 1,000 Miles from Christmas, a lot. It was a lot of fun. I suggest you watch it. But Muppet Christmas Carol, in its own way, is really a classic. Of course, the Muppets are their own, really their own universe at this point. I believe they have also been bought by Disney. I'm not 100% sure of that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. We know the genius that Jim Henson was. The Muppet Christmas Carol was made a couple of years after his death, unfortunately. I don't know. I'm guessing the production had started before he died, and then I missed the year on it, but I think it was done in the late 90s. Anyway. Michael Caine's in it. Michael Caine does an amazing job. Michael Caine, as we know, is, I believe, an Oscar-winning actor, and definitely a very well-known actor. And he was probably in his 60s when he did this role, because I know he's well into his 80s now. So it was just, it's a well-done movie, and very Dickensian. As you know, the original Christmas Carol was a book by Charles Dickens, a very dark yet hopeful tale of the whole Ebenezer Scrooge story, right? Of course, we have the ghosts of Christmas present, past, and future, and we know how the story goes. This man it's basically, if you took another Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life, that's essentially what that was, right? I mean, of course, Christmas Carol was written way before It's a Wonderful Life, but it's the same ideas, right? This is what things will be without you, or would be without you. This is what they are with you, and this in a Christmas Carol case, it's what if you need to change if you want to see certain things happen, right? If you want people to be celebratory of you upon your death, not celebrating your death, big difference, right? But celebratory and thankful that you existed in this life and were a courteous, kind, generous person, well, that's what awaits you. If you're not, if you continue on this path of being greedy and angry and mean, no one will care when you die, you know? So it's a dark story, but the magic of the Muppets and Jim Henson and Frank Oz and the other writers that surround that entire Muppet family is they took that story and they didn't only find the joy in it, which is obvious, that's what Dickens intended, but they found a lot of humor in it. And of course, the character design is amazing. The color palette is really amazing. They took Muppets and an incredible set design and made it so 1700s, 1800s, whatever that time period was supposed to be, made it dark and gray and gritty and sad, but also had all the Muppet charms within it. It's really a well-done movie. And here's another thing I appreciate about the Muppets that very few people seem to be able to replicate, and it's doing family humor without the edginess, not bringing up sex, not bringing up, you know, I don't know. It's really good because we see a lot of times we see so-called family movies, and it's just like they make these jokes, especially in the 90s, which is when this was done. If you go back, I'm trying to think of some of the movies where like the horrible ones, like Look Who's Talking movies, the Baby Geniuses movies. And if you watch these movies and take some of the jokes out, look at some of the jokes and how they're done, it's like that joke was not meant for kids at all. That joke was meant for adults, and it feels really inappropriate in this family movie. And the Muppets, I think there are definitely jokes about attraction. You can see that all the time with Kermit and Miss Piggy and other relationships. But there's not the horniness. There's not the sexuality. And it's an amazing thing they've really done. And it's because they've been doing it a long time, you know. The Muppets have been around since the 60s, maybe even the 50s, is when Henson and I think generally Henson on his own started it. And of course, it became an entire show that helped raise my generation. You know, Sesame Street was an absolute staple. That was our version of the iPad. If your parents need to get the dishes done, especially, you know, back in my day, it was usually the mom who stayed home. Dad went out to work. That still was done back in the 60s and 70s. Mom would sit you in front of the three I remember are Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and The Electric Company. All wholesome, entertaining, and fruitful, valuable learning tools that were on PBS. You know, and sometimes, you know, people like to go on a socialist rant about PBS. Well, you know what? There's something to be said for what they have done. They have self-regulated. Maybe the FCC regulates them too, but that's all tax dollar money or donations also. But it's made really good product. I mean, there's not much on PBS that I would call garbage. And like I said, I have nothing but fond memories of the Muppet Show. The Muppet Show was, of course, I believe on CBS. It was not a PBS show, that's for sure. That's when the Muppets had been growing in popularity since Sesame Street opened, I believe, in '68. Is when Sesame Street started. So after 8 to 10 years of popularity, I think the Muppet Show started in '76 or '77, and then they were able to, you know, take that PBS to a major broadcast network, which like I say, I believe it was on CBS. I could be wrong about that. But I remember watching that. I think it was a Sunday nights when I was a kid, and we were psyched for it. It was great. And they had all kinds of stars, like we heard in the opening of this particular one was Steve Martin. I remember Florence Henderson, Juliet Prowse, all kinds of just people back then that were mega stars, you know. And so when I watched this Christmas movie with Logan, I'm so glad he requested it. It was a Christmas night. So it was 2 nights ago. We've been kind of busy, but it was just a nice, great story. You know how it's going to turn out. We know the entire story of Ebenezer Scrooge and what's going to happen and what he's going to see and what he has to do to change his post-death fate. And it rings true for all of us, does it not? It feels like, hey, if I don't do good things, forget about religion and God and how you feel about that stuff. Forget about your post-life in an ethereal sense. Think about your post-life in an earthly sense. Like, man, what are people going to remember me in a good light or a bad light? And that's, I think that for a lot of us, that is what I'm looking at Gonzo's face, so it's a little distracting. It's like the still of Gonzo's face, but it really is what I think more than even religion or any other factors is what often guides our lives. Like, why are you living this life the best you can to be kind to other people, to be good to your kids? And so you will, when you die, you'll be missed, essentially. You know, I think that's what it comes down to. And like I said, I am blown away by how the Muppets handled humor, and especially and particularly a Muppet Christmas Carol handled humor to make this movie hilarious and meaningful and perfect for Christmas. I'm glad we got to watch on Christmas night. I'm glad Logan thought of it, and I'm just happy to share a brief review with you. I'm sure most of you have seen it. That's why the review isn't very deep. And we all know, like I said earlier, what the Muppets bring. You're going to get good production quality. You're going to get good writing. You're going to get, in all, a good movie. And a very wholesome one to watch on Christmas. If you didn't get to see it before Christmas, hopefully you have some time to see it after Christmas. Good movie. Michael Caine did a great job. And, of course, all the production staff of the Muppets did a great job. Very entertaining. That's my review. It's a short one. I'll get to hopefully some more Lifetime, Hallmark, Netflix type of movies that are a lot frankly, more fun to break down because they're so easy to. But for now, it was nice to bring you. The last couple have been good ones. So, Muppet Christmas Carol. Well done, Muppets. We'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, by the way, 8 is 8 Maids Milking. I don't know why, but that's what 8 is. So, welcome to part 8 of 12, the 12 Flicks of Christmas. See you next time for number 9. Thank you. Bye.